Do we need to repeat the rules? We don't have any rules. Chalonda, she probably remembers. I mean, you got drinks.
That's it.
This is not a family show, so if you need to cuss, you can do that. If you need to burp, you just got to let that shit hang. So,
it's encouraged, actually.
Yes, encouraged. It's the same thing we like to do. So,
and rule number one.
Rule number one is don't die.
Don't die and drink and talk shit. Okay.
Yeah.
This sounds like it could be my show as well. No.
It's not unlike your show.
And it's not unlike yours either.
Yeah, especially the part of like no editing. It's like jazz.
Wait,
like we just go. We're not editing shit. We just whatever.
Yeah, I don't like that analogy for ours because jazz implies talent.
Hold the fuck. Hold on. You ready to roll?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, so we'll be back in about 45 seconds.
Yeah, do your magic.
Beers with Nigel is poured for you by Dire Oil Graphics, promotional products and design. They cover your brand bumper to bumper with graphic design, promo products, and print. See what Dire Oil Graphics can build for you at direoil.com. That's DYEROIL.com.
Your phone there. You were racing the intro to try to get done in time.
Well, that's what happens when you have new shit, new toys to actually do an intro. That used to be the part we used to edit. That was my work. We just cut my work in half. Welcome to Beers with Nigel. I'm Nigel. That's Nik.
I'm that other guy.
You're the other guy. It's a podcast about beer
and other things.
Other stuff. And
depends on which brand we're using.
We're definitely going to be doing some other stuff today because we got the Whites out of Chicago, Illinois. What's up, fam?
What's up?
Hey.
Welcome back, Chalonda.
Yeah.
Hey.
So, let's get everybody acclimated. People know you. Let's get people acclimated to your other half.
People know him too.
I'm Nik. I'm the other guy in our scenario.
That is so not true. That is so not true.
Sure, but maybe to my audience, he's probably new.
Probably.
Yes. So let's start with this. Nik, who are you?
Right on, man. I'm Nik White. My outlets, I'm co-founder of Chicago Beer Geeks and co-host of Chicago Beer Pass and the Neat Pour podcast. So that's me in a nutshell.
And for you, Chalonda, tell people who you are. For those who don't know, I feel bad, but go ahead.
Nobody knows me. Okay, so I'm Chalonda White, also known as Afro Beer Chick on all the social medias. Have a podcast as well called This Chick Talks Beer, and also the other half of the Nik White podcast.
And if you haven't listened to those podcasts, you're doing it wrong.
You need
especially
to listen to both of them.
This Chick Talks Beer. That shit right now is lit. Oh my god,
she came out swinging the last one.
Yeah, the one before, I'm like, oh my god. I said, do I need to talk more? Because you brought up some serious, heavy topics, but it works though. I love it.
I'm glad. I had to kind of switch it up because for a minute there, I fell off with the podcast because there's only so much you can sit in your living room floor and you drink and you talk shit. But it's like you got to find something else. So it's like I need to start hitting with some real life situations here.
I do like the ones when it's just you and you're kind of lit and you go about 20 minutes.
Oh yeah, I get into because other than that, it's like I've started to sound like an old woman who's just talking to herself. So I got to get in to get out.
Well, first off, there's nothing wrong with sitting around talking to yourself. Well, let's start there. And then I think you're making drunk podcasting a thing, and I'm good with that. I'm on board.
I'm definitely drunk when I'm doing it by myself.
I mean,
it's like Drunk History.
Yeah,
that show on Comedy Central.
Let me tell y'all what happened was.
Except she's funny every episode.
Yeah, Drunk History is probably like what 25%.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd love to make that show, but
yeah. So obviously, we know Afro Beer Chick's into beer. Nik, you're into beer too, but you're also into the bourbons, the whiskeys. How did y'all meet? How did this power couple come together?
He slid in the DMs.
Is that what happened, bro?
No, I'm dead serious.
Really?
He slid in the. So here's the thing. I knew Nik from high school, but he didn't remember because his brother was more around my age. So when I used to go and hang out with a friend of mine who he was seeing back in high school days, I mean, I was young, so he didn't pay attention to me. But years later, he slid in the DM. So
okay,
what's up?
Okay, I see.
Well, Nigel, it was a clear dark night. A clear white moon.
Show you right.
Yeah, but yeah, probably 2009. I think
it was September 2009.
You know, we had hundreds of mutual friends, and it took one conversation led to another. And then, I think we went out. We saw Michael Jackson's "This Is It"
on Halloween.
On Halloween,
wow.
in the theater. So
wait. I saw. Wait a minute, hold on. First night we went out. First date, it was Halloween 2009. So we went to go hang out with his brother for his wife's birthday. Then we went to go see Michael Jackson. This Is It only. It was me watching it. No one else was in the theater, so he laid down on my lap and then he fell asleep. And I was there watching it by myself.
To be fair, the precursor to Michael Jackson, "This Is It," we saw a Poison cover band, the 80s hair band. Yeah. We saw a Poison cover band at what's that crazy bar?
Duffy's.
At Duffy's on the near Wrigley. So yeah. And,
is that the Poison overdose?
To be fair, Poison and Motley Crue for a couple hours on the cover band tip. And by the time MJ rolled around, I might have got some cut out.
You were probably exhausted.
Because shit, I'm an '80s baby.
Right.
I think when we moved to my mom's house, BET would cut off at 7:00 and it would become the Playboy channel, right? So you would get the squiggly lines at 7:00.
Oh yeah.
You would turn on MTV and catch all this rock shit. We'd be waiting for Beastie Boys or Run DMC. Right. But in the middle, you'd be like, in the middle, it would be all these hair bands. So I was a huge hair band guy.
I understand. Same here. I was watching today on HBO that movie Rock of Ages with Tom Cruise. You ever seen that?
Yeah.
It's basically an 80s musical. It's just it's kind of dope. So
that's the D. Snyder script, right?
Is it his?
Isn't that he wrote that for Broadway?
Twisted Sister, D. Snyder.
Yeah. There you go. I see. Your bands. I see you, son.
Now, see, I grew up without cable. I didn't have the MTV.
You were poor
back in the 80s. But no, we grew up the Mormon.
Oh, that's right. You were a Mormon. That's right. You can watch it.
Okay, what? A double damn on that one.
It wasn't even the good Mormon. Like, we only get one wife.
Damn.
Oh, damn.
I thought that was the whole bit. Like,
look here, all you get to get is one wife.
I'm not gonna talk shit on it. It's all good. We were the Independence brand.
Hey, what y'all drinking over there?
Let's see. Two different things, right? What are you drinking?
Right now, I'm drinking Foreign Exchange Common Sensory.
Is that a Chicago brewery?
Yes, a double IPA, and then on the bourbon side, I'm drinking Barrel Bourbon from 2021.
That's the New Year's Eve bourbon. Yeah. I'm drinking Transient Artisan ales. Now they're a Michigan crew. Okay. I think they're just. I think he's like what do you call it? Not a vagabond. That's the wrong word. But he's he doesn't have a home. He brews at different spots, right?
Oh, like gypsy brewing.
Gypsy. He's a gypsy brewer.
Yeah, vagabond could work too.
Yeah, I think we should change that name and just make it a thing. Vagabond Brewing.
Yeah, we got a little Michigan beer, Tapestry Brewing.
Oh, right on. Yeah.
Oh, Tapestry? Yeah, this is
Tapestry.
Mr. Orange. I guess it's a Berliner. I actually bought this on the Kansas side. So, Missouri, Kansas is weird because they have totally different liquor laws. So when I was in Lawrence last week, I was like, I always stop at this liquor store because they always have totally different selection of what you can get in Missouri. So I was like, never heard of it, but picked it up. Who knew?
Yeah, you drive 20 minutes, totally different thing.
Yeah, totally different shit. So,
and on the bourbon side, I believe this is from Chicago.
Hey, yeah, that's
right up the street from us.
That's like 2 miles up the road here.
Okay. Well, my buddy used to live over in that same area, that same neighborhood then, and told me when I bought it, he's like, "Hey, that's the distillery that's just up the street from our old place."
Yeah.
What's that other bottle you got there, Nick?
And then we haven't opened this one yet. This is one of my new favorites that I found this year. It's Old Bardstown.
Oh, right on. Okay. Is that that's a bourbon too?
Yeah.
All right.
Where's that out of?
Let's see here.
Probably Bardstown, Kentucky.
Bardstown, Nelson County, Kentucky.
Oh wow.
Okay. So how did y'all get into, the beer game, the liquor game? What I kind of remember your story, Chalonda, but for those who it's his fault. So give us the rundown, and then Nik, give us your story.
It ain't my fault.
It ain't my fault.
That's the title of his memoir.
It is his fault. So yeah, Nik is responsible for all of my drinking. Let me just put that out there.
Okay.
Before him, I was an Alizé, Bacardi and rum type girl.
Good thug passion.
Good thug passion. Sipping on blue motherfuckers when I go out to the bar. Right. But because of him, it has amped up. So no, he got me into the whole beer situation. He gave me my first craft beer, and then hanging out with him and his friends, I just wanted to venture out and find more women who's into beer. Eventually did that, started Chicago chapter of Girls Paint Out, did that for a couple of years, then stepped back, then came back into the game like around 2017-ish. Then I started looking for more Black people who drink beer, and that just kind of took off and found this whole amazing community. So again, with the bourbon side, I mean, it was kind of like a matter of time because I love barrel-aged bourbon beers, so it was like, that was like the gateway. But again, him, because I have proof of this now. I have proof. Last year actually pre-COVID, let's go back to my birthday because COVID started on my birthday, which is March 12th, right?
So it's your fault.
Right. So I had one bottle of bourbon on my bar. Listening to him, we should try this. Now, mind you, we have two separate bars. This is my bar back here. So from one bottle of bourbon to this, in the course of a year, it's on him.
This is the North.
Hold on.
Wait.
The elephant in the room here.
His and her bars?
Yeah.
You can't just gloss over his and her
past
bars.
that.
We're in a 4-bedroom condo, and this is the North cellar here. But then there's also a West cellar. So, I mean, because I had, we had different tastes, and I was buying a bunch of shit and
expensive shit,
and we was just like, listen, we're just not gonna have it just hanging out for when people come over. Back when people could come over, so that's how it started. The reserve started like that, we could have it in the back, and it kind of grew from that. But I tell you something, man, like she said with the beer and how bourbon kind of ties into it. But Michael Jackson, the beer hunter, not the one for This Is It. But Michael Jackson, the beer hunter, if you follow him, he wrote just as many whiskey books as he did beer books.
Yeah.
His beer friends didn't really know he was writing whiskey shit, and vice versa. His whiskey friends didn't know he was heavy into beer. So I think we kind of took our cue from that, right? And it's with so many Goose Islands in Chicago, and bourbon barrel aged beers is such a staple here. You can't help but want to explore the source bourbon, after you try a handful of these bourbon barrel aged beers. Yeah. And then that combined with COVID, and a lot of our favorite bars were just kind of selling off their stash because they couldn't have people in there. It was kind of like the perfect storm. So it's like, hey man, if y'all selling off y'all stash and it's, you're charging maybe 40% over fucking retail, then I'm gonna do that because I support you guys. But then also that's the only way I'm gonna acquire this cool fucking bottle. So the combination of those things kind of led to the momentum of us saying, hey man, we might as well just start our own channel. It's kind of like couples therapy too. That was the third component.
Trust me, I've heard some of y'all's podcasts. I'm like, they're working some shit out on this one.
I'm like, we're gonna speak. We are coming from a trusted place here. I had to say that on one of the shows. I'm like, let's do a positive intent on the fucking podcast, okay?
So is the local? What's the local distillery game like in Chicago? Is it big?
Man,
distillery game?
Yeah, I think bourbons and whiskeys.
Yeah, I think Chicago's competitive for booze, right? Because it's in the middle of the country. But I think as far as producers go, I think with breweries, there's a ton of breweries. In fact, there's more breweries in Chicago than I think in any other city. But as far as distilleries go, Chicago's lagging way behind. I think the first distillery after Prohibition was Koval.
Yeah.
That's 2009, right? And everything is single barrel. They don't blend anything. They do all single barrel releases. So Koval and Few are really kind of the giants of the local producing scene. And then after that, we get into what, my buddy Andy calls Yankee whiskey. So like I'm drinking, what is it? Oh, Corset's Whips and Whiskey from fucking Journeyman. They're up in Three Oaks, Michigan.
Yeah, Thornton Distillery out in the south suburbs.
Thornton Distillery. Yeah, there's a liqueur company out there too.
Yeah.
Apolog Distillery. Yeah. Apolog, which is they focus on liqueurs. And then there's one other crew I want to shout out, man, because
Blonde Brothers.
Yeah, Blonde Brothers, but that's in Kentucky though.
No, it's here in Illinois.
Blonde Brothers?
Yes. That's
I'm thinking of Brow Brothers.
No, Blonde Brothers.
Blonde Brothers.
I think this is what you were talking about?
Yeah, this is where they work out shit.
Blonde Brothers. Blonde Brothers out in Galena. That's another gigantic.
There's others. They're smaller distillers,
one.
But yeah.
But you could count them all. It's under 10. Like
it's like 20
producers.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a whole. There's smaller distilleries that I just so happen to come across the list that you don't. They're like kind of way out there, places that I'm not going to go drive to, but they're like hit and misses. But they're the key ones that everybody in Illinois knows about. You can count on one hand as to who they are.
Got you. So Nik, we ask everybody who comes on this show, how did you get it? What was your first quote unquote craft beer that you remember?
I tell you, man, I think
back in 1801.
Damn. Woo.
I think I was in the North Burbs. I work in the North Burbs, and those commuter trains from the burbs to the city, you can drink on those trains, and there's always a liquor store at like every stop on the train. Nice. And I got into Three Floyds, man. I get into Pride and Joy from Three Floyds and Robert the Bruce, but really Dreadnought. Dreadnought from Three Floyds is the first beer I got. It was
So you started high level.
It was right there. It was right there, and it had the naval officer on it, but he had like a peg. One of his legs was wooden, and he had the patch, and he was drunk as hell. He was on the front of the boat, and it said Dreadnought, and I was hooked, man. All these big pineapple citrus flavors, double IPA, and a fucking bomber. So, I was in.
So I'm curious. What did you just decide? I was curious about the label, and you was going to try it, or did you see other people do it? Well, how'd that happen?
No, that's a fair question. That was part of it. I think honestly, it started the precursor to the Three Floyds. Those beers. Well, I have a brother named Robert, so Robert the Bruce, a Scottish ale. I used to bring it for him. But the precursor to the craft beers was honestly we was Miller High Life guys, and then Miller. The champagne of beers, whichever one that is. Of course. And then we went into Sam Adams. I think Sam Adams was really the jump off, honestly.
Yeah.
In Christmas time they had like this mixed Christmas pack.
Yeah. Right.
And I was very curious, and that's when all the flavors that we didn't know could be beer were in that. So,
exactly.
So Sam Adams. Costco. Yeah, 12-pack Sam Adams was the jump off.
Yeah,
and then that's when I went to these liquor stores in the burbs, and I saw these other beers, and I was just curious by label, and I would just grab them. Yeah.
So that leads you into like the whiskeys and things like that. There was like barrel aged. Maybe was that the gateway for that?
I think there were two watershed moments. It was drinking these Three Floyd beers and then sharing that conversation with my friends at work, and they said if you like those beers from Floyd's, you need to come down to Dark Lord Day. And Dark Lord Day. Yeah, Dark Lord Day is the only day of the year you can get the Dark Lord. It's at Three Floyds. It's a Russian Imperial Stout, and then they have like some barrel aged variants of it, right? But but it's a big gigantic bottle share.
It's a beautiful shit show.
Yeah, it's a fucking train wreck.
It's like after Dark Lord Day, I used to we used to link up. I'm like, how the fuck are you so drunk? Like what's going on? Like it's not that bad.
Yeah.
So I went to my first Dark Lord Day in 2019.
We're talking like 30,000 people just outside of Chicago in Munster, Indiana, which borders the suburbs of Chicago.
I'm so happy. Like my mom, she lives like literally 2 minutes from where this festival is at. Mm-hmm. So from the time I stepped foot out of the Uber coming from her house, you have a group of people who don't even know who you are. Hey, do you want some beer? I mean, they're filling you up. Like they're coming with huge, like they're coming with some showstoppers. I was not ready. People had told me the stories, and I remember picking him up and how drunk he was. I was not ready for Dark Lord Day.
It's not something you can describe. You just have to go.
You just gotta go.
So there were two things: Dark Lord Day and then Phobab in Chicago. It's the festival of wooden barrel-aged beers, and that's really Chicago's finest hour. It's usually in the West Loop, and that's a global event, right? It's a national, international event, and then we're so close to fucking Kentucky that and it's winters, the Midwest, that barrel-aged beers are a huge part of the culture here. So.
Right.
I think those two things kind of led to us wanting to know more about these whiskeys.
I just wanted to drink. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Yeah.
You what?
I just wanted to justify my drinking more.
Speaking of, I feel that first. I think road trip is what comes to mind when he tells that story.
Well, yeah, we're gonna go to Chicago. We the plan was, you remember, Chalonda, last year before we were like, we're coming to Chicago. It's gonna happen. Because I'm missing out.
Yeah, that was the whole plan in February when we launched was, hey, we're gonna take the show on the road, do a bunch of road trips. That didn't last. That plan didn't last.
You need to drink up because we need to give him first mystery beer.
Oh, that's right.
So
that's right.
he gets 3 mystery beers. So Nik, this Nik, he's about a year into it. I've coached him up for a year into craft beer, but I bring him surprises every week. So. There's your. I keep it classy, brown paper bags. You know how we do.
It's a tradition like no other. The brown paper.
I came into the show as I like to drink,
and that's the thing. How I was telling him, he's like, we need to get both them on because he loves his bourbon too. But this is actually probably maybe the second time he's actually shared any with me. So there's that.
Oh wow.
And we've been doing a podcast for a motherfucking year.
Now, to be fair, many of them have been remote.
But you know what? He lived 5 minutes from me, man. I could get some curb service. You could bring me out a little plastic cup or something. You know what I'm saying?
Right in the middle of the street. Right in the middle of the
street.
Hello, I've done it for him, haven't I?
That's true. You have delivered.
When we were doing, he was going to podcast at home. I would drive by. Blow the horn. Come get this beer. Here's your mystery beers. Don't open that shit up till it's ready.
Which, by the way, if either of us drive to the other's house, we should be made fun of.
That is true.
What do we got here? Settling in, land of Manana. Double milk stout with chilies, cinnamon, and vanilla from Alma Mater.
Yeah, Alma Mater is one of the newer breweries in Kansas City.
And we haven't done this yet today. Junior.
Yeah.
8.5%.
Yeah, Nik, we got one of our regular listeners, and if we don't shout out what we drinking, that we don't put it in the description, he gets real ornery. You know what I'm saying? So we got to. That's why I asked you what you was drinking. We don't want to get in trouble by Junior.
Oh yeah, I do get that on my show. Like, how you get into the topic and you even tell us what you drink at? So I got to get better about that. But first of all, I'm already drunk when I start the show. Okay, right. So there you go. There's that.
I did not pregame this week.
Why not?
What?
Well,
you got to pregame when you're doing a show.
I have an honest question, man. Are you guys? I used to have like non-drinking days, but are we still doing non-drinking days? Somebody,
there are no rules in COVID world.
I mean,
it's like the Thunderdome, man.
It's right up there with having a beer budget. It's non-existent.
Yeah, tell me about it.
You can't give yourself that kind of rules and parameters in COVID.
That's a lot of pressure. If I decide, if I happen not to drink, that's fine. Does that happen very often? Not very often.
I don't want to know what my booze budget has been in the last 12 months.
Oh, let's not talk about the negativity. You know, like even like
right.
I was out of boredom. I made a bourbon milkshake, and it was so good. I thought it fucked the snow, but it turned out so good.
So tell us what was in this shake.
Huh?
What was in this shake?
Yeah.
So it was old-fashioned vanilla ice cream, about 4 ounces of Buffalo Trace's bourbon cream instead of the milk, about 4 shots of Bell Me, because I used Bell Me because I had run out of Buffalo Trace. About 1 teaspoon of chocolate liqueur and 3 to 4 ice cubes, and I mixed it up.
I think we're at 6 shots now.
Man, so good.
Was it lit?
It was lit. So yeah, COVID, I would say, has really enhanced my creativity for cocktails.
Well, I want to get into too. You've posted some beer cocktails.
Mm-hmm.
That look. Here's my complaint about your Twitter feed.
Oh shit!
I don't always get the recipes posted for those beer cocktails.
Oh, you missed the thing because I always post the cocktail for the beer recipes.
Okay.
The cocktails.
He's not paying attention.
I'm not paying
You're not paying attention in.
Look, the answer could be Nick's lazy. It's okay.
Okay, well, put that on that because I always post the cocktail recipe.
So Nik, or Chalonda, either one, who decided to be like, you're digging your beer, you're digging your bourbons and all that. Who decided, I want to write or speak or be out socially about it? Who did you start that first, Nik, or was that you, Chalonda?
You mean as far as beer?
No, just in general, just deciding, hey, I'm gonna do some shit that's out there promoting the shit.
Oh, it was definitely beer. It was definitely Nik first. Nik was doing Chicago Beer Geeks long before I came into the picture.
Is that right?
As far as, me in the beer industry.
Yeah, I think our first story on Chicago Beer Geeks with Chalonda was called The Return of Afro Beer Chick, because before Afro Beer Chick, she was the president of Chicago Girls Pine Out.
I was just Chalonda.
She was just Chalonda back then. She had she had the little short haircut with was it a perm? I feel like you had a perm.
I did have a perm.
She had a little perm.
Okay, I had the creamy crack.
She had the perm up top. But I think Chicago Beer Geeks came online in 2010. And nowadays,
right around when we started dating, yeah.
Wow.
Cool.
That's a long time ago.
Yeah, 2010, and then the newspaper was covering a little bit, but there was no big social, no big social feeds, no Eater Chicago, no magazine features, none of that shit back then. And we were just trying to remember what we had drank and what party we went to because it was happening so fast. So then my buddy was like, "Yo, we're starting a website," and all I heard was we're starting a band, and we just started fucking story after story after story. We did two documentaries. Yeah. That was super fun.
Really?
Yeah. And we started the Chicago Brew Bus. It was 3 stops in 3 hours. It was a dive bar on wheels. We went and got the Hertz. It was the worst, man. It was the worst. It was
also beautiful.
No, we got the Hertz, the little Hertz airport shuttle.
Yeah.
So we took that and we painted over it, and
it's
then
the short bus.
We got the short bus, 17 people, and then it was funny. We drove down to Missouri and got it, and it was like, he kept smoking Pall Malls and he kept saying "pal." He's like, "This is a good deal, pal." It was like $3K for this fucking bus. But yeah, man, Chicago Brew Bus was on, and then that's when Chalonda joined Chicago Girls Pine Out. But yeah, so we were focused on stories every week. Let's talk about events. Let's talk about stories. Let's talk about neighborhoods and people and the places. Because Chicago, what is it? My mom tried to send me to a fucking. Let me tell you real quick about Chicago. My mom tried to send me to a boarding school in Huntsville, Alabama. Woo, and Huntsville, Alabama told me that Huntsville, Alabama has more square footage than Chicago. But and that to say that you could be in Chicago and it's a big ass city, but there's a ton going on in this little square mileage. So when we write these stories every week, it's like, oh shit, I'm learning about something new. People are learning about something new through these stories, and that's really how it started. We felt it was important to do because if it's a party going on the west side, and I'm way to fuck up north, we're not going to the party, but we want to know what's going on.
You're a reporter at heart.
There was no party in Chicago that Nik did not know about. The party didn't start until Nik got there. Everybody knew Nik. I mean, Chicago Beer Geeks, if you heard the name Chicago Beer Geeks, you seen Nik. You knew Nik. That was it. That was all.
My crew was in the burbs. Yeah. The other 3 guys were in the burbs. I was the only one in the city.
So you guys just decided you were drinkers and decided you wanted to document the shit, or what?
It made sense. It made sense to start documenting it.
Wow. Yeah. That's a great story.
Are you still active? Is it still going?
Yeah, we do. We try to do a story every month. So I think our last story was on, one of our favorite spots was Lowry's Prime Rib downtown. Lowry's like the seasoned salt.
The season, yeah.
They're in they had a restaurant that was ran for almost 50 years, and it's in a mansion right a block from Michigan Avenue. And they used this was a block from Chalonda's job.
Right around the corner.
Yeah, it's right around the corner. They took maybe a quarter of the capacity and turned it into a gastropub. And it was the only spot downtown that was constantly doing beer dinners. They had a to-go program for these large format, like Wild Ales and shit. And then they closed recently because of COVID.
Oh, damn.
So that was the last story on Chicago Beer Geeks.
Yeah, great stuff.
Have you guys seen any breweries shut down?
Well,
during this because of COVID?
rest in peace, Argus. Argus was the very first brewery that I had come into contact with when I started my beer journey. It was the first event that I was invited to.
It was the only Southside brewery for a long time. It was
the only Southside brewery. Then I put Nik on, and Nik they became like best friends.
Oh, those are my guys.
Argus, they were so cool.
Yeah, they brewed in the old Schlitz horse stables. So it was right off the commuter chain, and it was in a landmark building. It was in a national landmark, that building. Yeah, and they closed to I think 2009 is when they opened. So that was a casualty. The only Michelin star brew pub in the city. Yeah. Fucking Band of Bohemia, they closed.
Damn.
Wow.
I'm glad we went for your birthday before they closed.
We did. Yeah. Honestly, their beer was weird as fuck. Like
it was one of those situations where you would never stick out their beers outside of dinner. Their beers went with their menu.
With the food,
it went with the food. So
So if you saw them at a park at a festival and you just had the beer,
you wouldn't drink it.
You know, it's got this brown ale with sweet potatoes in there. You're like, well, why the fuck am I drinking this?
Yeah, you wouldn't.
I don't know. That sounds good to me.
I would try that shit.
Yeah, but there have been some closures. Yeah. And the economy's failing, and that shit sucks.
Fortunately,
we're lucky here. We haven't seen it yet.
We got more motherfuckers just opening. I mean, we got 3 coming online in the next month. It's crazy.
Wow,
so crazy. Yeah,
state by state, right? I feel like that's what's going on. Like every state has a different story about COVID.
Yeah, nobody's.
That's one of the few good stories from Missouri during this. But yeah,
well, the thing about here is the to-go game has actually been better for some breweries than actually having the tap room open, because, it's people are like, oh, you better come get that shit now, because now the model is here. Like on Thursdays, a lot of breweries will be like, hey, we're putting out this beer at 8 p.m. Online. You better get in while you fit in, right? There's this really great brewery, BKS. They're similar to Side Project, where it's they do everything they do is just really ridiculous. But literally, when they go on at 8 o'clock on Thursdays,
they're gone.
It's gone. I mean, and I know the brewer. I'm not going to hit him up like, oh, yo, hold me some shit back. But somebody got butthurt on one of the forums on Facebook about.
I always getting butthurt on Facebook.
about not being able to get the beer. I'm like, bro, you need to calm down. First of all, it ain't that serious.
So what I'm getting is that Nigel is going to send Chalonda some beer mail and vice versa.
You know what?
We can make that happen.
That's what I heard. That's what I heard.
You need to
I'm
go
like
back.
My daughter now. I'm hearing what I want to hear.
You need to go back to your DM from the last time you were on, and I asked you, "What's your address? I'm gonna send you some beer."
Oh, damn.
Crickets.
Hold on. Let me say. See, what had happened was.
When it starts with what had happened.
I know that line.
Because I think we were sending up a couple of shirts.
It was let me
the
tell
Bourbon and Stout Club shirt.
What happened is it's so funny, but it's by the grace of God. I'm not religious or anything, but it's by the grace of God. Like I see the message for this show because normally my DMs get so wild, I get to the point where I don't even check them.
You know what's funny about that though? Every time I've hit you up, you've always responded. I don't know why that is. I appreciate it.
Don't say that. Don't tell me that.
I'm gonna edit that part out.
Do not give a precedent.
I don't, because normally I don't check my messages.
Okay, I'm gonna edit that out. Sorry. See, Nik, I'm gonna have to edit now, bro.
I'm gonna edit that one. They were like, ABC, like, yo, what's up? How you just gonna overlook us like that?
If there's some beer mail and there's some side project in it, or if there's something from I think Rieger's at Kansas City Distillery.
Oh, you want some Rieger?
Oh, you want? Yeah,
that's easy, buddy.
We only get some of them here. We don't get them all here.
Yeah.
So if the beer mail includes those things, we'll make sure to hook it up on the return. On the return, and we'll hold it down.
That's easy button. I mean, the last cat we had on, crafted beer culture out of Ohio. He was all about the brown ales, so I went around town and picked up some brown ales, sent them directly to him. So, Chalonda, just send me that address.
He was drinking mead that whole show.
I gotta ask a question though. This is a random question. What's the flashing light behind y'all? What is that?
Flashing.
Oh, it's
lights.
so funny. It's actually
She's got this fucking remote. Here, this is the
it's
remote.
my LED lights.
Oh, you need. That's way too fast. If I could have a seizure looking at that shit.
It needs to be a little warning in the
you need to put that shit on the slow roll. You know what I'm saying?
I was trying to put it on low, and he had the remote.
I can never turn. When it's time to read a beer label, I'm like, God damn, the light's red. I can't see shit.
I'm like, hold on, don't do me. Don't do me.
You need some pretty glasses.
Put the colorful lights on.
That's hilarious. So, you guys are both have your own. Look, he just teased up a little thing. Ridiculous.
Oh
Warning!
man!
Warning! Flashing light might give Nigel issues.
So you guys are both in the social space. How did you guys decide? Hey, let's do this neat pour together. At what point did you guys decide? Oh, we can do this together.
I tell you, man, we always knew, we knew Chalonda's thing. I think we talked about this when we were out in the South Burbs. I'm like, because all my beer outlets have Chicago in the name, right? So I'm like, when she comes out with, she's like, I'm gonna be Afro Beer Chick. I'm like, well, shit, it's personality based, and then it's not Chicago based, and then you have a chance to be bigger than all this shit that we've done, right? So I was always, you get out of the way because Shalonda's got a presence, So when
that's a compliment.
No, I know my husband.
So
she kind of got too much.
No, Chalonda, you got to make room. Shalonda's got a presence. So when I think the conversation came up, and I don't even know how the neat pour. I don't know how the neat pour conversation came up
because my husband can't tell you what he did 5 minutes ago. So we were sitting in this living room. I was sitting on the floor. He was sitting in the chair, one of these chairs against the other wall, right? I said, you know what? We should do a bourbon podcast because the bourbon's growing. He's like, you know what? I'm down with that. And then he was like, well, what would we call it? We went through a couple of names, and 10 minutes later, not even 10 minutes, I was like, oh, we should call it the Neat Pour. He's like, oh, that's a dope name. So I searched it, see if it was taken on, as far as the website, it wasn't. I had already secured it within 5 seconds and it took off. So it happened with a course of 10 minutes.
It made so much sense. And then I think the staples of the show was we'll do an audio show and then we'll do a written piece every week. And then Shalonda's like, well, I'll make cocktails every week. And I'm like, well, shit. I'm like, there we go.
There you go.
So those were the 3 pillars of the show. And then we could talk out for a half hour. Our first show was Uncle Near's.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, Victoria.
That is a fantastic bourbon. And the story behind it is amazing.
It's really cool, man. The 1884, that's when Near's retired.
Yeah, that dog right there.
Yeah, the 1820 when Near's was born, and then the 1856 when he started distilling. And that was Victoria Edie Butler. Shout out to her. 2021 Whiskey Icons Master Blender of the Year for Uncle Near's. Yeah, Buffalo Trace was in that category, so was Wild Turkey, and 6 others, and she won out as Master Distiller of the Year, Master Blender of the Year. And like you said, Nick, it's such a dope story, man. Yeah, there was this black man who taught fucking Jim Beam, not Jim Beam, Daniel. He taught Jack Daniel how to distill, and and people looked into it. People looked into it because they saw Nearest Green's family dressed in what could only be described as high society garb. And they're like, who the fuck is this guy? Who the fuck is this guy? And then that led to them building a whole distillery around the Uncle Nearest story. And then the master blender is his great granddaughter.
Right. Wow.
It's a dope story, man.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Our friend who owns the local liquor store that we go to and who got me these bottles, he got to tour that distillery a couple years ago, and he just said it was amazing to go through.
Yeah,
I can't wait until we can travel and be able to do the same.
I think I want to go to San Diego as a beer town, and I want to go to New Orleans, and then I want to.
I love New Orleans.
I want to go see Uncle Nearest. I want to go see the.
Yeah, New Orleans is my city, man. It's kind of sad. The last 2 years, I'd been to 12 out of 13 Mardi Gras,
Oh wow!
Yeah, he told me that the last time. Yeah.
Yeah, last year I didn't go because I went to other half's Pastry Town, which was a ridiculous beer festival. Right before COVID shut shit down. That was crazy. You say what?
Pastry.
No, then
Pastry Town.
No, what you have to.
That's a classic. That's a classic name for a party. Hey, where we going? All right, get in the car. We on a Pastry Town.
We're going to Pastry Town.
We're going to Pastry Town.
No, it was in Brooklyn, and it was pastry stouts, pastries, and wrestling. It was so
wrestling.
Yeah, it was so ridiculous.
I will sit up and watch.
Oh my god!
3 hours of Ric Flair's greatest hit. All interviews, not one fucking match. Just Ric Flair talking for 3 hours on YouTube. I will watch.
No, y'all don't understand the depth of that. Like, oh my god, it's like.
Nik, it's beer time.
It's beer time. By the way, the Alma Mater beer was amazing.
Yes, that's a really nice beer. Shout out to Nik Mater. It's good beer.
Yes, what
do we got? Oh, another stout.
What are you cracking over there?
This is actually another transient. This is Martian My Hello, and it's so good.
So Nik, what's who you digging in Chicago? I know Chalonda loves Revolution Brewing.
Yeah.
You don't know nothing about Chalonda. You know she.
Let me tell y'all something, okay? Let me tell you. First of all, of course, I love Revolution because they have a dope barrel program, but I also love Maplewood and Phase 3. And oh my God, there's so many others. And what's that other one? Foreign Exchange. Shit, what we just had.
I'm not even hating on you. I just know you talk about them a lot, so it's got to be good. I've never had it.
It's the largest independent because Goose is here and Lagunitas is here. Right. And those are the two biggest breweries, but they both sold, the AB and Heineken, respectively. So Rev's the largest independent brewery in Chicago.
Okay.
They're just really dope people. I just really love their energy.
That's a fact, man.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I don't know about you. The people I know in Kansas City beer community are pretty fucking dope. I don't know any. And well, maybe 1 or 2, but we're not gonna talk about them. But 99% of them are really good people, and do some dope ass beer.
Yeah.
So Nik, who you like up there?
Yeah, man. I would say shout out to Half Acre. That's probably the most well-rounded crew in Chicago. Shout out to Haymarket. They're the first crew to start in West Loop, and I just love classic Belgian styles and barrel-aged stouts. And that guy, the brewmaster there, started the Festival of Wooden Barrel Aged Beers. And me and my buddy Brad, every week, man, we drink. He drinks a lot of solemn malt, and they're in the burbs. And I think they're a good example of what the burbs can do. And that's not something I would drink if it wasn't for him. So shout out to solemn malt brewing. IPAs, and fucking imperial stouts.
So is what's your style preference? And what about you, Chalonda? What's your IPA style? What's
what's not my style preference?
Okay, what is not your style preference? Look, non-alcoholic beer.
What about 0.4?
That and porters.
But you fuck with pressed. It's
okay. So here's the thing: yes, I do like pressed. I do like the porter that Rev just did. Which one was that?
Eugene, the coffee Eugene?
No, not the coffee Eugene. The one that came. It was I can't remember right now. I've been drinking. But anyway, anything that says Imperial Porter, I'm gonna consider this a stout. It's just a stout at that point.
That's a strange way of saying. It's not strange. It's an alternate way of saying stout. Imperial Porter.
Well, actually, it seems weird to me that if you like stouts as much as you do, that you would like the porters too. So that's a weird line for me to hear.
I think she and I were on the same page because I think we talked about this last time. Where porters is just a bit different.
If you catch me on if you call me on Daddy Porter's Greg Washington podcast, his name was Daddy Porter. I was on his show and I said they taste like tasteless brown water. It's like
a bit much.
It's like it's left out all day long. It's just flat. It's like flat pop. Like you don't even want to drink it anymore.
It's just as filling. It's very filling, but without the reward of giving you that nice warm buzz.
Tastes great, less filling.
No taste, no filling.
Nigel, we've got Martin City's anniversary stout.
Yeah, Martin City is probably
brewing right here next to us, next door.
It's probably the second oldest brewery in Kansas City.
No shit.
Which is 7 years.
Really?
Martin City Brewing.
And as far as we know, not sexist.
Well, Boulevard. Yeah, Boulevard's the oldest.
Don't get me started on Boulevard.
Hey, Boulevard. So the old man who started Boulevard had to go back.
He had to come
fired
back.
all the top 2 spots because they were over there, doing the most.
They had to bring Daddy back.
Well,
you know what? Here it is. He knew what was going on, so it's like whatever. I'm not buying.
So Boulevard, who are the 3 biggest breweries in Missouri? Boulevard's one, right?
Now, if you go Missouri, if you go Kansas City, if you're gonna go Missouri, it's obviously Budweiser.
Yeah, it's in
shit. Yeah. We'll craft. We'll just craft. So all right,
nothing St. Louis counts.
Yeah, he don't like St. Louis.
Okay.
No. No, St. Louis does count because I'm going to say Second Shift. Libby and Steve.
Shout out to Second Shift. I fuck with it.
Look, don't bring your logic and good points to this show.
I'm not going to dismiss my homies. I love those people.
There's a whole lot of finger pointing.
He just doesn't like Cardinals fans.
I don't like Cardinals.
He don't like Cardinals fans. That's his problem.
That's really what it comes down to.
You don't like what?
I don't like
St. Louis Cardinals.
But whatever. Well, we're not gonna overlook Libby and Steve and say
No. I love their story. Now I think in Kansas,
there's good beer
in Kansas City. Probably Martin City's a bigger one. Probably KC Beer. They do German style. Like you said, Second Shift in St. Louis. I don't know who would be after them in St. Louis. I'm not that familiar, so I have no idea. But as far as here in Kansas City, most of the breweries here are probably 5 years old or less.
No shit.
Yeah, we're way behind the curve. But what's the oldest? Obviously you got Goose in Chicago, but there's
88. 88 is Goose. But then after that, but to your point though, between 88 and like 09, when like Metro Peace and like between 88 and 09, Goose was the only game in town for like fucking 11 years.
Yeah.
So it's not, you know what I mean?
They just had to sell out.
And then after that, it started to get strange, and then breweries everywhere all of a sudden.
Yeah, I'd say 2012, 2013 is really when it started, and in the last 4 years, it's just exploded.
Yeah, the last 4 or 5 years.
I'm gonna stay a little bit later than that. I'm gonna stay like around the 2016, 2017 mark, because like. I say this all the time. Like even when I came back, when I came back as ABC, I was actively looking for black breweries.
Right.
Even at the time, it was only 6 on the map. You can count them. You can just name them off. Now it's like 60 of them. So breweries have been taking off, like back to back within the last 4 or 5 years. That's all over.
If we were doing inventory nationwide, you would say definitively 2013 to 2017 is the heart of the nationwide.
It's like the baby boomer beers.
But the funny thing about that is, you go to different parts of the country. Like I never thought Northern California was beer country. Like Sacramento, they got breweries that are 20 years old. I had no idea. Went up there. Sacramento had 50 breweries within a 10-mile radius around downtown. 50 of them. And most of them weren't new. So it's weird because depending on where you go, there's some places, Michigan got some old ass breweries too, obviously where you guys are.
The way you said Michigan got some old ass breweries too.
You know what I'm saying? Well, it's really depends on what part of the country you're in.
I think you're onto something though, man, Nigel. Like if you look at the oldest breweries in town, and we were talking to the Beer Edge about this, it's like, the oldest breweries in town didn't necessarily have like all the concentration of breweries. Like you talk about Sacramento in comparison to California. Look at fucking Sierra Nevada. They're in like Pico, Nevada, but they're like the 3rd or 4th largest brewery in the country.
Yeah,
I think like those breweries, like in Chicago, all the burbs. There's tons of breweries in the burbs that showed up in the 90s, and then city proper had like 2 breweries. So. I think it's weird. It's weird. Like, I think like just because you're near a metropolis doesn't mean that you were around the older crews. The older crews were happening in places like fucking Chico or in fucking Barrington, Illinois, wherever the fuck that is. Right. Like
an hour away.
They weren't happening they weren't happening near metropolises necessarily.
Right. Yeah, here.
I think for us, it was like back in the 90s, it was, there'd be like a restaurant. There was a restaurant group that, brew pubs that would pop up and last for a little bit.
I wouldn't even say brew pubs. It was one.
So I'm too young for that conversation.
We know.
In the 90s, I was still in high school.
Uh-huh.
Well, I mean, so was I. Sorta.
We were all in. I mean, I was too. I was in high school.
But you're still older than dirt,
I was not. I'm going to keep that real.
Well, yeah, but you're old.
I'm seasoned. I like to consider it seasoned.
Maybe you're seasoned.
Yeah, you know.
You're seasoned.
That's a nice word.
and he's sticking to it.
Yeah.
I feel good, man. I can still hit the fastball as long as I get the fastball.
Oh, were you a baseball guy?
Yeah, you get me out. You get me out with that curveball, but you know I still hit that fastball.
Okay, so you're still on the softball diamond. You
with
swinging
the jumper's knee,
with a jumper's knee, and a deep V neck.
Oh gosh!
Are you softball guy?
You know, I do like. I mean, it's summertime. You know, you gotta be out every single day. That's over fucking 70 because we don't have very many of them. So yes.
Yeah. So if somebody's coming to Chicago, let's say me and Nick come to Chicago, what you going to do with us? Let's say we're there for a weekend. Where do we go?
Man, first of all, let me tell you something now. With Chicago, okay, if you were talking just the city of Chicago, we're never talking about Chicago land. All right, Chicago land has like 177 breweries.
Well, you're Julie from the Love Boat. You're the cruise director.
Basically, so we're gonna all of a sudden knock. Nigel and Nik are here.
All right,
where are we going?
You're like, orale.
First of all, okay, like look, we're doing just breweries, man. Okay, oh God, it's just so much. I say this I feel like I always repeat myself with the podcast. You have to know like what part of Chicago you're coming to because, like again, so Chicago has 77 different neighborhoods, and in each neighborhood you get something different. Right. So, like if you want to hit up the South Side, you have Mars, you have Lagunitas, you have Lores, you have Alulu. Then you hit up here by us, you have Rev, you have Half Acre, you have Peckish Pig, which is in Evanston that a lot of people overlook. It's all depends where you want to focus on. You know, you can bounce around. Really, a weekend is not enough to hit just the Chicago breweries. You need to be here for about almost 2 damn weeks.
We got to find more sponsors.
Yeah.
There's no truth in that. I like what they did with the oil sponsor thing. We need to get a sponsor for the podcast.
Yeah, we don't know how the hell that happened, but shout out to Dire Oil Graphics because we're like, okay.
Look, I just got a dope new intro for This Chick Talks Beer. I can't wait to play it for the next episode.
Yeah, I think what Chalonda was saying is when you come to Chicago, just focus on a couple of neighborhoods that you're going to get through. And I think the 3 neighborhoods that are probably the most important in Chicago right now for beer are probably, I would say, West Loop, Logan Square, and Malt Row up in Ravenswood, right? So we would take you to some breweries in those 3 neighborhoods.
I'm gonna ask you to I'm gonna ask you to answer it this way too, because since you do the Chicago Beer Geeks, which is a little bit of a journalism twist, right? You're reporting on it, which that's my background and my thing. Brewery with a great story. I want to go visit a brewery that's got a good story. Oh,
this is Mr. Chicago right here. He can definitely answer that.
I tell you, man, we used to take the Chicago Brew Bus down to Lagunitas, and Lagunitas is on Cinespace. You know, first of all, it's on the west side, right? Where, you know, west side is the best side. That's where the Black Panthers were. You know, that's where the Chicago, a lot of the Great Migration, where a lot of these folks came from. From Mississippi. A lot of them land on the west side. My folks are from the west side. You know, so Douglas Park, the largest park in the city, is fucking 2 blocks away from Lagunitas. So this guy, fucking Tony McGee, who's from, you know, the Chicago burbs, went to Petaluma, California, started his brewery, right? It became a top 5 brewery in the country. And he's like, I need a second project. So he's like, I want to go home for my second project. He don't ask for no money from the city, right? And then he builds his project. You know, he comes up with $250 million on his own and builds the largest brewery in the history of Chicago in Cinespace. So we're talking, I don't know if you remember that Batman movie with Heath Ledger where they burned all that money. Yeah. You know, he burned all that money up in in one of the scenes. That's Lagunitas. That's where Lagunitas is now.
Really?
They took out Empire's film there.
So let me jump to my makeup side real quick. So I've actually done makeup there at Cinespace. It's freaking huge. You have literally like 8 warehouses size lots with these buildings. I mean, you can literally get lost over there. And then off to the side, you have Lagunitas.
Yeah, so Lagunitas occupies a chunk of CineSpace, right? Which is basically like the movie theater. It's like it's where they film movies and TV shows and shit.
It's studio space.
It's a studio space. So there are a pair of 250 barrel systems in this place. And then they have this sea of 750 barrel fermenters, right? Oh. It's the biggest. It's larger than every other brewery in Chicago combined on the west side of the city, which is predominantly Black and Mexican, right? They got so much steel there that they bought the Germans a house across the street because it's in a residential neighborhood. And they bought the Germans a house across the street and they call it the, what do they call it? They call it the, fuck.
I don't know. I've been drinking. I can't.
What did you pour, Chalonda? What did you just pour? You poured out a bottle.
You gonna put me on blast like that?
No, we got to let people know what that was about.
It was Bardstown Fusion Series.
Oh, there we go.
Okay.
Yeah. But I would say go to Lagunitas, man. That's a Chicago guy who didn't want to do nothing but come back to Chicago and build the largest brewery Chicago's ever seen. And it's something we never talk about because, they took 500 mil from Heineken one year and then quietly took another 500 mil and sold completely to fucking Heineken over 2 years.
No, I've heard great things about that spot.
Yeah, they have a really dope spot.
Yeah. So, I mean,
so you say it's in a Black and Latino neighborhood?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They got any people of color working there?
Oh yeah, they had a ton of color.
Okay, good. That's good.
All the fucking hipsters, because Douglas Park, right after Douglas Park, just south of that is Pilsen, which is a predominantly Hispanic neighborhood.
Okay.
So you go in there, you see Black, white, Latino, and they all got the same fucking the beanie hat on, and it's ever so gently past the hairline so you can see their fucking hair. It's the same setup. There's 7 different races all dressed the exact same.
They're not coming to the hood of Chicago and not hire any of the Black and brown people in that community. Well, you get roasted.
That's the embassy. That's what they call a joint. They got these Germans living across the street in a townhouse called the Embassy, and it's all the Germans in case equipment breaks down at Lagunitas. Yeah.
That's my beef with Boulevard. It's in the Latino neighborhood,
and has been since the beginning.
Yeah, from the beginning. I've seen in the years I've been there, I know 2 Black people who work there. I know no Latinos that ever worked there.
Yeah, because that's bullshit. Because Lagunitas, man, like we would take the brew bus through there and we'd hang out, and we maybe just hang out and smoke and drink with some of whoever's hanging outside. Mm-hmm. Talk about how, man, when Lagunitas came to town, everybody who's got an ID that's got that fucking zip code on it, they're allowed a free case of beer and some swag, and and they would go around and they would just give beer to anybody. Everybody who lived in the neighborhood came there and got free beer because they were in the middle of their neighborhood. Yeah. It wasn't a destination. Full disclosure, fucking Douglas Park wasn't a destination until Lagunitas.
It's only a destination for 2 things: either Lagunitas or Pitchfork, and that's it.
Yeah, Pitchfork. It was Riot Fest.
Riot Fest.
It's a summer festival.
Yeah. Gotcha.
3-day summer music fest. Riot Fest is a couple blocks from Lagunitas, but yeah, I think that's a story like we all know about. All the nerdy, popular beer nerd breweries in Chicago, but nobody talks about the biggest brewery this town's ever fucking seen. No one ever talks about Lagunitas, which is a little weird to me. So that's why I focus.
Well,
that's a good story.
And the thing about Lagunitas, it's almost like they were, probably 2012, 2013. We were getting that shit here, and it doesn't. You don't even see it very much anymore, which is weird. At least here, because one of my favorite beers is that damn Hop Stupid.
A little something.
Yeah,
Maximus.
So, I don't know why they're not talked about anymore because they've always done great beer.
How long have they been around?
Chicago Nitas opened probably, I would say 2015. I would say 2015.
But they've been in Cali for forever, right?
No, they've been in Cali since like the late 90s.
Yeah.
They sold to Heineken, but if you didn't count them and in the sale, same with Goose, like Lagunitas would be the 5th largest brewery in the country.
Right.
But they're not counted in the Brewers Association stats. So it's Sam Adams and Oscar Blues and fucking and Sierra Nevada.
Right.
So, and then the Lagunitas would be right there, but they sold. So
crazy. I need to go get me. I need to blow this dude's mind with some Hop Stupid.
a little something.
Yeah. I had one of those the other night. I was at a friend of mine's house, and surprisingly, she had an actual craft beer in her refrigerator. So I was like, I'm drinking that shit. So what's next? What are y'all doing in 2021? I know Chalonda, and look, I see your face. 2020 was about talking about it. 2021 is about being about it, right?
Oh, you mean for as the
just in general, just
my social injustice side?
Yeah, well, not even that. Just social injustice. Just us being people who love breweries and love the drinking game, and we had a lot of talk last year. What's on the horizon for you? COVID-19 aside.
COVID, you know what? COVID has put a damper in some serious plans, some two of the biggest plans that I had.
Yeah.
But I am working on the back end on something huge, and I can't put it out there yet, but I'm crossing my fingers and hope and pray that it kicks off.
Hey, when are we gonna open this bottle shop? What are we doing?
Okay, yeah. So, dang.
Well, I mean,
they got to work something out again.
So, in 2020, I had a hopes of, open up a bottle shop. I wanted to be the first Black-owned bottle shop here in Illinois, because here in Illinois, there's only 9% Black-owned liquor stores. That's it.
Which is weird.
There's no Black-owned bottle shops at all. So I wanted to be the first. And I had investors. I was ready to go, but then COVID hit.
Right.
It was like, it's like, it's like a catch-22. With here, I can't speak on any other states. Opening up a business here where businesses already struggling would have been very irresponsible of me. Because it's like, we already have businesses struggling. They're trying to get businesses in.
Right.
It's like I had to kind of put that on hold. So I had to kind of revamp. So my thing is, now, as I'm putting that on hold, I want to work on the whole documentary of being Black in craft. I'm going to kick that off, as well as a whole nother project that I can't talk about just yet. But it's just I have things that I'm working on.
I'm with you.
I'm tired of the talk. It's time to walk the walk, and especially we're calling out a lot of the breweries that participated in the Black is Beautiful movement. Right. It's like, okay, yeah, you pandered to us. You were quick to show us that you participated. Where are your fucking receipts? So it was like, I want to see action. No more talk. Where's the action? You know? So that's what I'm on.
I tell you something, man. To piggyback off what you're saying, like the Black is Beautiful movement from last year was cool, and they got a conversation started.
Right.
But, there were some Black breweries across the country that had to close over the time where a Black is Beautiful beer was a spotlight. And then I can speak locally about how like a lot of these breweries they made a Black is Beautiful beer, but then they gave the funds to crews that were just like that weren't necessarily beer crews.
Right.
They gave it to like some block club Chicago and shit like that. They didn't give it to. They didn't necessarily use the money to make craft beer more inclusive. So I think in 2021, like those initiatives need to be more pointed, so that like look at what Black and Brew Chicago is doing.
Man, she's yes.
Look at what beer culture is doing, right?
Right, beer culture.
Crown and Hops and Eugenia, Black Beer Chick,
Black Beer Chick,
yes.
Like having a nationwide initiative that's more pointed, that actually that's focused on getting more Black people who want to be in beer. I think should be a 2020 initiative.
Yeah, I love what culture's doing with paying for the. For the Cicerone and all that business, that's huge, because
Cicerone.
Cicerone.
What are some action things? Because we talk about this a lot, right? So we have a lot of the conversations. We talk about it. What are some actual actionable things that can happen?
Action items.
So
to open up the industry. I mean, Nigel works part-time at what, 3 or 4 different breweries around here?
It's only 3.
But
only 3.
He drinks at them all. I get confused. But he'll tell you he's one of 2 people of color serving beer in the city.
So for me, when you have breweries that has the money behind them, I get them to hit me up and say, "Hey, can you sit on this panel for diversity, inclusion, and let's talk?" And I've gotten to the point I tell them, "No, I'm not talking about diversity and inclusion with you guys anymore because you want to know why? You guys have the money. You know what you're supposed to do. You have a diversity director. So why do you need me? Now I want to see you guys open up more opportunities for these for these Black breweries. Offer them scholarships, offer them grants, teach your own company about diversity and inclusion. You don't need us to be your voice.
Right.
It's about taking that walk. You know what I'm saying? So when people ask me about Goose, Goose does a lot outside of what we don't see. That's why you never see me go after them. Because there's a lot of initiatives that they take within the community that is not advertised. They actually put money into the urban communities. So for far as them go, we're good. Right. But a lot of these other breweries that, like for instance, let's talk about Stone. Hell, let's talk about Founders. Founders only want to pander to Black people, but they don't never want to do anything for Black people. Founders, yeah, fuck Founders. I'm still on that.
You got to lean in on the mic for that one.
Fuck Founders. So yeah,
show you right.
That was kind of dirty.
So I'm at the point like stop pandering to our culture and using our culture when it's beneficial to you, and let's actually see some actions.
Yeah, I think that goes both ways with brewers who every week they come out with like a new hype haze or a new hype pastry stout, and then they're naming it after some lyrics of some rap song.
Right.
And then when it's time to do
cultural appropriation,
do something significant, for that culture that you're borrowing from. They're super fucking quiet, right? And there's usually in Chicago, that's usually the crews that kind of are like just outside of Chicago that do that kind of shit.
Do you know I had some kickback from someone who asked me about like the Stacey Abrams glass, like how they. First of all, this is our culture, and the proceeds from that glass. Now, mind you, I'm not getting paid off that glass. I never wanted any money off that glass. The money from that glass is going to Fair Fight. It's going to her non-for-profit.
Right.
But however, you have breweries that they use the WAP. They put 2 Black women. I can't think of it.
Because hip hop is even from people in my age group. It was 75% of it was bought in the burbs, right? So lot we all. Even if you're a Trump supporter, you listen to hip hop.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? So then a lot of these folks are like just taking their love for hip hop and applying it to this fucking beer game, and they're not participating when they're needed the most. They're just benefiting, and they're not participating in a way that they're needed the most, and that's unfortunate. It's almost as fucked up as all these breweries being closed and small businesses are failing, and there's no bailout for them. It's almost as fucked up as that.
Yeah,
almost.
That's
just almost.
Yeah, that's a whole another conversation.
We're gonna need you to stay on for 3 more hours.
Oh my gosh!
So grab another bottle.
No, it's crazy. Our last podcast we did, it was Anthony. What was his last name? Not Sizzle. That's his name. Crafted. He's in Ohio.
Sipping with Sizzle.
Yeah, sipping with Sizzle.
There's a bar.
They just opened. It's the first Central Ohio Black-owned brewery.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Crafted Culture Brewing.
Anthony Perry. He's Crafted Culture Brewing on Twitter and Sipping with Sizzle on Twitter. Really great guy.
And he purposefully opened February 1st, the start of Black History Month.
I loved it.
Which was, he's like, normally we're closed, but I'm opening that day.
But yeah, he, we were talking about, it's time to, not talk about it, be about it. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, man. I tell you, man. Oh, Crafted Culture. I see him right here.
Yeah.
Well, so I asked about the what are real actionable things, because as the resident white guy in the room,
yeah,
I feel like there is an onus on me and people in my position who I have my own podcast too. I do news in this community where it's up to me. Like there's an onus for me to make people that look like me talk about it more. But Should we be doing more actionable things too?
Yeah, I think shout out to Goose, because one of their brewers actually made a beer with Haymarket,
Sam Ross and Jay West.
It's the Brother at the Bar podcast.
Yeah,
and he
passed the drink
podcast. He did a beer called Harold's Honey Ale. So he took an all black honey apiary. I didn't know apiary is where you get fucking honey for bees. He took an apiary that was that's what is it? They only hire people that were in prison. At the apiary. Called Sweet Beginnings is the name of the apiary. They gathered the honey from there. He made a honey ale, and he named it after Harold Washington, who's the first ever black mayor in Chicago. So it's Harold's 83 honey ale. In 1983 was the year that he was that he went in office. Oh, but he's a brewer at Goose Island. But then he made this beer with Haymarket, which is the only brewery, the first brewery in West Loop. So. Which
is dope because Goose Island was very supportive of that endeavor. They didn't, because especially with AB over, owning them, they were very supportive. They said, "Hey, do what you need to do." They help market it. So it's like, that's what we're talking about. We need that type of, camaraderie in the beer community.
Right. I think you find that in the craft beer world more than you do though any other industry that I've been around.
Oh yeah,
I'd say so.
I mean, there's a love and a connection that you don't see.
Because I know all the 3 breweries I work for, they've all come to me and be like, "Hey, what can we do? What do you think we should do?" So shout out to my homeboy Tony at Windshift. I mean, he came up. He's like, "We want to be better. We want to do some shit. What do you think we should do?"
So what you're saying is I'm not the only white friend who called you up. And was
We're not the fucking white friend anymore, Nick.
Well, okay. So full disclosure, I have a local news organization, and I have another podcast. And as a community journalist for the last 25 plus years, I've always been I get a little nervous around Black History Month because I'm the white guy, and apparently this month is when I have to call my black friends. It just feels disingenuous to me.
Yeah.
So I don't know what to talk about because I don't want it to feel forced, and I don't want it to be just I'm calling you just because it's this month. So what did I do? I called some of my black friends last week and said, let's talk about this stuff for the podcast.
You should have got me on that.
Don't ever call your black friends just on Black History Month.
Well, no, but that's what I'm saying is that's why I've always had a problem as a reporter and an editor during that month because I always feel like, well, why aren't we doing these stories other times of the year?
Right.
And so it just always makes me think twice before I make those phone calls in February.
I think it's important to remember that Black history is American history.
Right, absolutely.
American history.
This idea that it only needs to be talked about in February, I think as an ally is something that we need to discuss all 12 months, right? Even if it's just hey, we made a honey ale, or hey, Chalonda's got a new show.
Right.
Hey, there are layers of this that can be talked about all year long, right? Because it's the Black diaspora is pretty deep. It's not just one type of thing that's going on. Like Black people do everything.
Well, and as you said, though, all of American history is Black history.
Yeah.
Fuck
so the challenge is I challenge America to find at least one Black history fact every week for the whole year.
I like that. That's a good challenge.
Super easy.
I know, right?
There's all kind of shit, right?
Because here's the thing:
fucking George Washington Carver with the fucking peanut.
Because
I'm from Southwest Missouri, so yeah.
I
know that's light.
When my kids were younger, it was so funny because it's just so funny because the memory just popped up. My youngest, who's now about to be 16 on Monday, when she was in about 4th grade, it popped up in the Facebook memory. She was supposed to do a report on Dr. Martin Luther King, and she protested. They called me at work and said, "Hey, she's protesting. She's not doing her part." And when she got on the phone, and I said, "Well, what's going on?" She said, "Mom, they always shove Dr. King down our throats as if he's the only Black man that represented Black history. I want to do it on Daniel Hill, the first Black open heart surgeon." And I was like, "I'm done with this. She wins. Now what?" Because there's other Black history that's untapped.
The guy who discovered Chicago was black. DuSable. Jean-Baptiste DuSable was a black man who was a fur trader with the Indians, and he started a trading post right here where we now know to be Chicago.
And all he gets is one museum, and Pulaski gets the whole day.
A little bitty ass fucking statue just from the neck up. It ain't even like a whole statue on a horse or nothing. It's just a little ass statue.
Columbus had a bigger statue off of. He even have a whole.
The Columbus statue in Grant Park that they snatched down was way bigger than the dude who discovered Chicago.
Hey, I think we should
fucking bullshit.
I think we should.
I don't know if you know this or not, but as Americans, I don't know if you know this or not, but as Americans, we have a really long history of making a big deal out of things that are not true.
Here's the thing. Let me say, as Americans, what happens is how Black history is stolen. They make us dim our excellence so they can be okay with their mediocrity. So, like, if you look at what happened just with Simone Biles,
I was gonna say, that's the story right now.
The dopest Black gymnast that's hit the mat. Ever. And now here it is. They rescored all of her routines just because no one else, not just Black people, but no one else could do it.
Because she's doing stuff that nobody can even dream of.
Exactly. We always have to dim our excellence just so they can be comfortable with their mediocrity.
When we saw the Confederate flag go through the White House when Trump had that party, when they trashed all the shit in the House of Representatives or whatever, I didn't understand that the Confederacy was only 5 years old and that people started naming things that were longer than the Confederacy. And they were like, the Outkast albums lasted longer than 5 years. And I'm like, oh, shit, I didn't realize, to your point, Nick, about how, like, white folks like to make a big deal out of these shit that's not a big deal. Confederacy was only 5 years, and the Outkast run of albums was longer than 5 years, and I didn't know that.
Hey, Erykah Badu has a longer run.
Look, we've spent generations romanticizing the Civil War, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Gone with the Wind was not a good movie, but damn, it romanticized the Civil War in the South.
Yeah. So I think you're onto something, man, with making Black history a 12-month initiative instead of a 1-month initiative.
I like the challenge, and you're right. I mean, it should be easy, but to have to think about it every week for 52 weeks that's a good challenge.
Yeah, and it's important, especially for allies. I think that's an important position to play, right? Because this is all mainstream shit. All the shit that we described, this is all mainstream shit.
Right on Google.
Exactly.
Right. Well, I think that's been an important part of the conversation from 2020 was, how do I actually be a good ally? Right. People are we're asking that question for the first time.
Okay, so for me,
whether you're talking about race relations, whether you're talking about gender or LGBTQ, right? It's, how do I be an ally?
Being an ally is being able to open up, is being able to understand. So, like, I have had people to reach out to me and say, "Oh my God, ABC, you're being too militant on your Twitter." So here's the thing: if you're trying to be an ally to me, you have to be uncomfortable. See, I have to live this life. You don't.
Right.
So you have to be uncomfortable with what I'm going through if you're really trying to be an ally. And being an ally also means now jumping ship and saying, "Hey, I have Black friends," when you're trying to get out of a situation. It's being here's the thing. That's the thing. At the end of the day, being a true ally is being able to be uncomfortable with what's going on in the Black race.
Yeah, and acknowledging that Black people can't be racist, because racism implies that
power.
Yeah, racism implies I don't like you and I can be I don't like you and I can be a dick to you and it will affect you because I have power, right? So Black people don't have power to be racist against white people. Now, Black people can be prejudiced,
right?
Be prejudiced against white people and not like white people for the shit they do. But Black people can't be racist because racism is rooted in power and privilege, right? Mm-hmm. And I think just holding white people accountable to those things, that only white people can be racist, holding them accountable. I'm doing the Bill Clinton shit with the finger and the thumb.
I like it though. I was kind of waiting for you to grab the podium.
But you know what I mean? Like, even just having a fundamental conversation with white folks that are probably, 40 and under is important. Like, Black people can't be racist. Only white people can be racist. And explaining it from that perspective as an ally would be of fucking value, in my opinion.
Or my
word of the year for 2020 was empathy. And I think that's the biggest thing is right. To get through privilege is to actually allow yourself to see a different perspective, to accept and allow for a different perspective other than your own. Because you're right. It's all about power. It's all about, I'm coming from a place of up here and someone else is down here. And if I, it's a fear really is what it is. It's a fear of, if I allow your perspective, then I have to move down. Mm-hmm. Everybody thinks it's so simple to think it's a zero-sum game. And that's not what it is at all.
But see, here's the thing. It's like, you have to be careful because nowadays it's like almost like a trend. It's like our race, our culture, our pain, our oppression has become a trend. It's easy we have to live it. We have to be afraid to send our husbands, our kids, our sons out into the world. But it's easy for our counterparts to just post about it. So once you post about it, just because you post about it doesn't mean that you understand or you sympathize with what we're going through or you're trying to make a change. It just shows that you're posting about it. You care for that second that it took you to post. We need to go beyond that. Our oppression is not a trend. And that is what the movement, like the death of George Floyd, that is what that lesson brought forward. Our oppression is not a trend. So we had a lot of people speaking on our behalf that shouldn't have been speaking on our behalf, because at the end of the day, they don't know our pain. They don't know what we live through. They don't know how we cry at night for our kids. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, that's my whole thing for 2021. My pain is not a trend.
Right. And part of that is people don't know history. Exactly. They don't know. If you just rewind to Black history in this country and had an understanding of what it is, you would understand the issues today, because it's a continuation. It may look different. It may sound different. But it's no different. I mean, we talked about this on your podcast. There's a great documentary on PBS called Driving While Black, and how the car helped those get away from the South and get to Chicago or whatever. But also those highways divided where they put those highways. They put them through communities that were poor and Black. You know what I'm saying? So it was twofold. And so if you understand the history, if you understand the history of this country, that it wasn't founded on to help the minority. It was for the majority. So everything that was done, it's no different, And unfortunately, there's the majority of the people are uneducated and think, why y'all mad? Why y'all riot? And why you mad about this, that, and the other? Just all you gotta do is read a book, Google, Wikipedia, whatever.
Yeah. Decisions are made to maintain power.
Right.
Nik tapped into it when he talked about white fear, tapping into white fear and understanding that. I mean, that's why Trump won in 2016, right? Is because white fear was like, hey man, these old white folks, we're gonna rally one more time, we're gonna ride one more time, for our white brothers, right? Because when you look around the world, whites are a minority if you count all what the minorities are around the world, the Indians, the Chinese, and the Blacks and Africans. You count up all the minorities, they outnumber white folks. And so there's some fear there, right? There's fear of this Black planet. Honestly.
Did you just do it? Did you throw out a Public Enemy album?
That happened just now. That happened. But there's some fear. Tapping into white fear is the fifth. It's the omega level of what it means to be an ally. If you're an omega ally, you're tapping into white fear in your conversations.
But see, here's the thing: we've always tapped into white fear, and you want to know how? Because if you look at the death of Fred Hampton, like if you watch the movie, Judas and the Black Messiah,
right?
It's white fear. They were scared that Black people were live in peace. So what did they do? They tainted the Black community with drugs and with violence to keep us at a certain level.
Right.
It's always Black fear. And they hear this again. Simone Biles tapped into Black fear. Here it is. This young Black girl is achieving great excellence. So what are we going to do? We're going to bring her down a notch. It's always happening. So here's the thing. I have to teach my daughters that they have to excel beyond the level of excellence.
Yep.
Black excellence. Only so society can see them as mediocre.
This motherfucker, J. Edgar Hoover, that he was the FBI head when that Black Panther shit was happening. This motherfucker, this is a fact. He came out and said the number one enemy in America is the unity of the Black family.
Right.
Think about that. This is like 1967. Wasn't that long ago?
Mm-hmm.
Shit, it was 10 years before I was born. The number one threat to American safety is the unity of the Black family. This motherfucker. Right. So I mean, just on a fundamental level, we need to have conversations with non-Black folks about that. Like, I'm cool with white folks wanting to be around all white folks. I'm cool with Asians and fucking, whoever you are, Filipinos. If you just want to do your thing with your people, I'm all for that. But I mean, just think about where we are and think about what this fucking guy said and think about how fucked up that is for us.
Think about it, because white fear destroyed Black Wall Street. It bombed Tulsa.
Oh, absolutely.
And we've talked about that before. Like, how many of us really knew that story?
No, unless you really, up until the last 5 years, unless you lived in Oklahoma like I did, you knew nothing.
I mean, until you watched HBO's Watchmen.
I knew about it because my grandfather was oh my God, I wish he was alive today. My grandfather was so dope. Like, he hung with politicians back in the day. He used to school us on Black history. He used to make us go and research Black history that was not taught in schools so we can be very well prepared. So I learned about, Tulsa when my junior high year in high school. My 7th, 8th grade year in junior high.
I didn't know about that shit till I was grown.
That's what I'm saying. So
I watched Watchmen and I'm like, I kind of remember that being a bold-faced word in a history book.
I didn't know about Black Wall Street, so I heard about it on like a rap lyric. Then I
there was a great, I forget what the documentary I was watching was about it, but there was a great story about a guy who grew up in Tulsa, a Black guy that grew up in Tulsa, went to college, was in a history class, and the professor's telling him about the Tulsa massacre, and he's like, that didn't happen. I grew up in Tulsa. I know about it.
Right. Mm-mm.
They didn't teach it in Tulsa's history classes.
They don't teach Black history in schools. No. They give us the Bear. They give you Rosa Parks. They give you Dr. King and a little bit of Malcolm X, and that's it.
Yeah, so you're lucky if you get Malcolm X.
Right. You don't even really get Malcolm X. So it's like, okay.
We get the Denzel Washington version of Malcolm X.
The Denzel Washington version. So it's like, okay, so like when my girls were in school, it's like
Rock landed on us.
Right. We didn't land on Plymouth Rock. So like when my girls were in school, I used to say, hey, nope, I need you to go to research more actual like Black inventors. Go and research, Black doctors. Go and research things that you're not going to find in your books because our history is greater than that.
Talk about how they only showed Einstein in black and white photos,
and he was Black
because the Germans was like, if you show this motherfucking color, they gonna know that he ain't blonde hair and blue eyes like us. So only show this motherfucking black and white.
I mean, even if you bring it back to the beer history, Thomas Mack, he was the first Black brewery owner in the United States. Right. He bought people's beer and he hired Black people. So because of the fact that he wanted to give them opportunities.
And what's the big history find of this week? The news, right?
Right.
They found a brewery in Egypt.
But see, here's the thing. We always knew beer was brewed from in Kazi. And Kazi is what? Black women.
Right.
They always forget about that part. Black women started brewing the beer.
Hey, shout out to Beers with Nigel because we off into the deep end with this.
It happens.
Look.
It happens.
People willing to talk about anything plus booze. You never know what's going to happen.
We are.
We talk beer, shits, and history on Beer.
Right. It's a show about beer
and other stuff. Yeah. Speaking of beer,
from the shallow.
Yeah. No, I mean,
but look, Uncomfortable is good. I mean, have you guys listened to the Uncomfortable Conversations? It's a great podcast if you haven't listened to it. But we've got to make each other uncomfortable. You can't move forward unless you make each other uncomfortable.
That's a fact. That is a fact.
Yeah. And I'm all about making. It's so funny because my daughter just asked me, like, Mom, do you wake up waiting to piss off people with your podcast so you're a Twitter? I'm like,
I hope you answer yes.
Yes, I do.
We were on some show, man, and they were saying, who do you look up to in craft beer, or who are some of your favorites in craft beer? And you know me, I'm an old motherfucker, so I was talking about the legends of the Chicago scene, but I almost said Chalonda because she's making people super fucking uncomfortable, and craft beer has lost its innocence a long time ago, but now we're having conversations that bring beer into the rest of our lives. Right. And we weren't doing that before. Before it was this bubble where you escape to, and now it's a vehicle to discuss the issues of society at large. And I think we're
talking about sex and race on my podcast.
So some heavy shit.
And mental health.
Some heavy shit.
Oh, and the mental health of Black men. Yeah,
that was a great episode.
That was a dope show, wasn't it?
if y'all listening to that Chick Talks Beer, whoo, that episode was great.
I actually want to expound on that show and get more Black men, do like a round table. Yeah. So I want to get more into the in-depth of that conversation.
I'm down with it.
I like that though, that beer. I mean, look, drinking is a thing that everybody does. They all get to it. It's a safe place. But I like that now it's turned into, even here, we're going to use this place that everybody goes to, this safe bubble, and we're going to force you to look at some things.
You have to.
Because I'm a motherfucker at a brewery. I will talk to anybody about anything, and I've come across some people that I don't give a shit what your religion is, what your politics are, whatever. Well, I can have a conversation with you, and I ain't got to be ignorant about it. You can have your opinion. I'm gonna let you be you, and we can. And at the end of the day, we're sitting there and we're drinking a beer, right? That's what it's about. So, like I was talking about on yours, it's a matter of just being open to other things and other people and quit being so goddamn narrow-minded.
And the thing is, look, if you can get through a can or a bottle or whatever with somebody,
yeah,
it's all good. I mean, nobody's going to go away mad, right? Or at least you hope not.
The best bars, this is a Goose Island thing because they started in '88 and they're the old timers. They would always say the best bars in the world are in Belgium, man. And all they have ain't no TVs, none of that sports bar bullshit. Right. All they might have a family band in a corner sitting at a six top and playing some acoustic shit. But beer and conversation, the best beer bars in the world is all about beer and conversation.
Oh yeah,
and beer.
Chalonda, what was that?
Y'all gonna keep calling me out.
No, we can see you.
look, Junior's gonna get mad at us if we don't tell him what you're drinking.
Okay, look, so you can tell who's the drinker between the two of us because this is like my fifth pour of bourbon.
Oh, his shit's off camera. We can't even tell.
This is Sazerac.
Is that Sazerac rye?
Oh, that's that. I love that.
Is that the Sazerac rye?
Yeah.
Sazerac.
That's that New Orleans shit right there.
That's so good. No, he's a little more stealthy in his drinking.
No,
that's the difference. He's like outside.
It's so funny because my mom, it cracks me up. Whenever I'm talking about my drinking, she's like, you know what? That's that damn Watson side. So like my great grandfather, her grandfather is straight up from Ireland. He has this red curly hair straight off the boat. And his family disowned him when he married my great grandmother, this beautiful Black woman. So she was like, you get that drinking side from him. Hey, it's paying off.
Did she use her outside voice like that?
Yeah.
Hey, Junior, we're drinking Everything Rhymes with Orange.
Roughtail?
From Roughtail Brewing Company. Yeah. I've liked everything Roughtail so far.
Can you guys cycle through what you guys have opened on the beer side tonight? One of them from Tapestry. And then what else? And who's drinking? And what's that one again?
This is Roughtail Brewing. It's Everything Rhymes with Orange. Earlier we had Martin City's Anniversary Stout.
They're from Kansas City.
Yep. And then also from Kansas City, Alma Mater's Settling In, Land of Manana.
All right. Now, Everything Rhymes with Orange. Where are they from?
Oklahoma City.
Oklahoma City.
All right. Cool. Thank you.
Look, I'll make sure. When I send that,
we post all these on the show.
I'm gonna look. I got the address now. I'm gonna send.
I've already sent the address.
Oh,
I'm gonna send you some beer. Don't worry.
All right, I got to get a couple shirts made too.
I'm gonna send you some too.
So, okay.
Shoot me your address.
Okay, for sure.
Many breweries, man. I just want to try to keep up. I'm trying to keep up. So many breweries.
It's like trying to, keeping up with breweries is like trying to keep up with a good marriage. It's hard as fuck.
Look, we're only an hour and a half into this episode.
I tell you, whoever said the first year of marriage is the hardest shit, that is the realest shit I've ever heard. That it comes to be the realest shit ever.
Man,
the first year of marriage is super hard.
I'm on 22.
Oh man!
See, here it is. We knocking on 4.
What's going on? Are we? It's in the cards.
You ain't got past your rookie contract yet. Shit.
Look, you haven't had that free agent renewal negotiation yet.
So I told, look, here's the thing. So when we got married, I'm not big on like spending a whole bunch of unnecessary money. So I was like, look, let's just go to the courthouse. So we went to the courthouse and we got married. The one thing I wanted a beautiful dress made, which I did have made.
We dressed up like we was doing the fucking thing.
Right. And we had pictures made. So I said, hey, look, if we make it to 5 years, can we have a small ceremony for like our family? Because, nobody in my family has ever really had a wedding. And, so it's like
my first marriage. Yeah.
And this better be your only one.
Yeah, it's my only marriage that far.
Can I make a suggestion? Can I make a suggestion? A Beers with Nigel wedding. I'm ordained.
Oh,
there you go.
I'm intermittent ordained.
I did say that, like, when we renew our vows, if we make it to the 5 years, I want to get married in the brewery.
Yeah, hell yeah.
We're gonna make that happen.
There's a
podcast goals.
There's a brewery in Omaha, and all the bar shit is from an old church.
Road trip.
See,
it's coming together.
The universe has a plan. You just got to get out the way.
Just get out the way.
I actually performed a lockdown wedding this summer.
Did you really? That is so dope.
Some friends of ours got me. They had been planning their wedding, and they're like, you know what? We're not waiting. So it was just a small 5 people in a backyard.
And look, I'm wearing the same damn wedding dress I wore the first time. That dress was just amazing.
My tuss is gonna be a little more snug though. I wanted it to be a little more snug. Take them to the gun show a little bit.
Right. Well, you planned it that way. You had it tailor made too tight.
So I'm gonna rework my tux, but her dress was money. It was 5-star. It was nice.
So let's wrap this shit up. It's been a good conversation as usual.
It has been.
Like, we're glad to get you on, bro.
I'm glad. I am happy to be here. Man.
Me too.
Yeah. We've been talking about this for a while. Ever since we learned about you, we're like, oh, he's a whiskey guy. We gotta get him on the pod too.
See, look, I responded. Don't put that out there for everybody else to
hear. She normally does not respond, so don't DM her. It's fine.
Nigel had to stalk her. It's no big deal.
Right.
So, Chalonda, tell people where they can find you.
Oh man, I'm always talking shit on all the social medias, Afro Beer Chick, and then collectively you can catch us at the Nik White.
And what about you, Nik, sir? Where can we find you?
Shout out to the squad, man. At Shot Beer Geeks on Twitter, at Chicago Beer Pass on Twitter. Yeah, those are the main hangouts, man. Yeah.
Thank you guys so much. This was awesome. This was a lot of fun. We got into some cool stuff.
Hey, listen, man. You guys send us that Rieger, sing us that side project, and then whatever the fuck y'all want from the Shy, we'll make it happen.
Which means Chalonda will make it happen because
she's gonna send it.
Because I'm gonna send it because he's gonna forget.
I'm gonna.
That's fine. I can get you some Rieger. That's the easy button right there. The side project. I got a couple of connections. That's in St. Louis, but I certainly have some people who can have some here because I got a lot of people like to hold on to beer for some stupid